So you want to buy a buy-to-let property, but where do you find one? That's exactly what I'm going to be breaking down in today's video. This is all about finding the area, because ultimately, yes, you can have a great buy-to-let, but what if it's in the wrong area? What if it's in the wrong price grade? And so we need to think a little bit more macro before we start getting micro. And that all starts with the money. Yes, everyone, when they're talking about property, it's go and search the property portals, Rightmove, Zoopla, go talk to agents and get that. But actually, if you don't have the criteria in the first place and you don't have the money, then not every property is going to become a deal. So in order for a property to become a deal, you need criteria. And in order to have criteria, you need to understand your money. Now, if you're coming from a place where you've got the money already, that's great. This is going to be really helpful. But also, if you need to raise the finance from somebody else and you need to pay them a percentage, then how are you going to utilize that and get their money working hard for you? Once you understand your finances and your property prices versus the rental prices, you can then jump into the search. In general, with property prices, for every £100,000 property price, if the rent isn't £600 or higher, it's almost definitely not going to work. So use that as your rule of thumb. Next, we need to get a little bit macro again. The first thing I like looking at is the education. I know that sounds so weird. Why would you look at education? Well, because I'm looking for 2 to 4 bed freehold houses for my investors, and I want to make my house somebody's home. And I have found the best tenants are families that have their kids in local schools, because naturally they don't want to uproot their kids. So I look at the Ofsted reports. You can Google the government Ofsted reports, you can search a location, and it will bring up absolutely everything. And what you're looking out for is either good or outstanding schools. As long as you've got one good school or outstanding school within a 10-minute walk of the property, you are in really good standing. Next is tenure of property. I know it sounds really weird. You're going to want to get a pen and a pencil right now. On average, there is around 26 million properties in the UK right now, and it's broken up into 4 main sections: owner occupier with no debt, owner occupier with debt or a mortgage, private rental landlords, and of course social housing, which is government funded housing and rentals. So in general, you're going to find it breaks down like this as an average across the UK. 30% of the stock is owned outright without a mortgage. 30% of properties is owned outright, owner occupier with a mortgage. 21% are private landlords and 19% is social housing. These are really cool figures, Jamie, but what the hell do they mean? Well, it's when you average against that and it's a comparable and contrast. So if you look at your area, and let's say you've got those two 30% owner occupied with no mortgage, 30% owner occupied with a mortgage, so 60% in total. Let's say you look at an area where it's got 65% owner occupier with or without debt. That shows that more people than average want to live in that area. They are willing to pay for it, and so that will enhance capital growth in the area. On the flip side, if we know the average social housing in an area is 19%, and you're looking at an area where it's 35%, typically what that will tell you as the story, up and coming area, let's say, so much so that if you go much beyond 35%, you're really going to struggle getting a mortgage. So it's always a comparison. Remember, 30% owned outright, 30% with a mortgage, 21% private landlords, and 19% social housing. Which brings me on to crime. Criminality really does impact the value of your property. Shock, horror. Nobody wants to buy a place that gets the windows smashed in, the doors smashed in, and the pipes nicked on a tenant rotation. But you need to know the average crime rates in an area. And this is average per 1,000 people in an area. The UK average is about 109.6 crimes per year per 1,000 people. Hard to imagine that, isn't it? That on an average year, over 10% of the population will commit a crime. How mad is that? Well, I think that's mad anyway. So if you look at your local postcode, which I know you are, by the way, you can look at this information on Street Check, or even better, property data. It gives you everything you need. But you will look at it, Google your postcode, and I guarantee there's around 80 to 130 crimes going on in your area. Go ahead, check it out. So today's video sponsor is Lendlord. Lendlord is an incredible app and piece of software that you can both get on your phone and on your laptop or computer. And I use this for my entire portfolio analysis. It allows me to analyze properties properly, which you've probably seen in some of my videos, but also allows me to reliably predict the outcome of my long-term property investments. What I also like using it for is periodic reviews from my leveraging point of view and my lending point of view, understanding when rents are due, insurances are due, and maybe when a refinance is coming out. Well, how I like thinking of it as is Experian as for your credit score, but for your property portfolio. So it's a great place for you to get an overview of it, see everything in one place so that you can correctly and predictably assess the current situation and future of your portfolio. If you're interested in this, they've got a free version available right now, and you can get access to this by clicking the link in the description. Next is energy performance certificates. Now, the reason why energy performance certificates is the government is going on like a hound right now with EPCs. Currently, it's a legal requirement to be E or higher. The government is in talks proposing by 2025 that it's going to be C or higher. This isn't the video for it, but it's not really anything to be worried about. But you should search the area EPC, and the energy performance certificate on an area basis will show you the average properties as a percentage. So it might be that 10% is A, 12% is B, 25% is C, and then D, E, etc. What you will find in almost every area of the UK is the majority of the properties are D or E. Here's where the governments are fucking idiots, by the way, because they've just come out and gone, yeah, we need to make it more energy efficient. Look at us contributing to the planet, which again, I'm not mocking the idea, more the execution. The fact that almost all properties are in D or E, think about the funding that's going to be needed. Anyway, check it out on your local area. Do not be alarmed if it's D or E. It almost definitely will be. What you want to be looking at is the type of properties. The only time you need to be worried, well, obviously, if the average is an F, which is very unlikely, then you're probably going to have some issues. But even if it's an E, the only time that becomes an issue is if you have got a big fuck off, and yes, that is the technical term, Victorian property, where you are going to spend 20 or 30 grand getting that to a C level. A majority of the properties, you're talking about £2,000 to get it up to a C, so nada to worry about. Next, growth in the area as we grow through property. Now, I've said this a million times, cash flow is what allows you to quit your job, but it's capital growth that allows you to become wealthy or indeed a millionaire and allow your kids to inherit that wealth moving forward. The property prices in the UK have been measured since 1086, which is the Doomsday Book, where you could buy almost all of the land in the UK for about £70,000. Bear in mind the average property at the time of filming is £290,000, and I don't say that the past guarantees the future, but 1,000 years is a pretty good indication, right? The average is about 7.9% per year, which means that every 10 years property prices doubled. Jamie, are you saying that in 20 years the average property is going to be worth over £1 million? Yes, because I can foresee that one of you is going to make that comment. That is exactly what I am saying. Just bear in mind £1 million in 20 years will be different to what £1 million is today due to inflation. But you can assume long-term 7.9%. If you want to look at the next 5 years and be conservative, assume a 5% capital growth. But you want to look in your area and look at the past 5 to 10 years and see what growth has gone on. And finally, you just need to do a quick postcode reference. So you've gone into Rightmove, you looked at your property prices versus your rental, you know that you're looking for a 600 rent for the £100,000 property, you've done all of your qualitative research like the tenure property, the EPCs, the social grade, whatever it is that you're looking at. And finally, we're going to look at a demand metric. And what you're going to look for here is, first of all, you're going to search a postcode for sale. Then you're going to go on the advanced option at the bottom right, right? And you're going to click include sold subject to contracts, or SSTC. What that is going to show you is a bigger number at the end and a smaller number at the beginning. So for example, if I search Rightmove and there's 100 properties there, and then I go include sold subject to contract and there's 300 properties, that means there are 66% of properties sold subject to contract. And what the reason for that is 200 sold over the 300 that are available in total. Anything above 50% sold subject to contract is a really good demand rate, and again shows decent capital growth indications in the area. Then we're going to do the same for rent. You're going to go and look for a rental property that's a 2 to 4 bed freehold property, which is what I do for my investors. How many are rented versus let agreed? And again, what we're looking for here is above that 50% rate. Just bear in mind, letting agents remove them very quickly. If you got value from this, make sure to hit the like button. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you want to learn more about property investing, make sure to hit the subscribe and the notification bell on your way to the next video.